Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
I've been stocking shelves at the supermarket for about 6 months when this happened. That week, we were running one of our usual promotions. Buy 3 items from this kid's snack brand, get a free doll. Honestly, the thing was kinda creepy looking with these huge eyes and weird smile, but kids seemed to love it. We'd already gone through our first shipment pretty fast. I was restocking the cereal aisle on a Thursday afternoon when I noticed this girl, maybe 9 or 10 years old, walking past really slowly. She did it once, then twice, then a third time. I figured she was looking for something but didn't want to ask. The fourth time she came by, she finally stopped near me. She asked if we had any more of those dolls. I told her we were out right now but getting more in tonight. She wanted to know what time. I explained that the truck was running late so they probably wouldn't arrive until after we closed. She'd have to come back tomorrow. Her face just fell. I felt bad about it, but there wasn't anything I could do. She walked away looking really disappointed, and I went back to work. Didn't think much more about it. 2 hours later, I was tired and ready to go home. We were 5 minutes from closing when I saw this woman walking straight toward me. No kid with her, just pure anger on her face. I had this sinking feeling before she even opened her mouth. She got right up close to me and asked if I was the boy who told her daughter she couldn't have one of those dolls. It took me a second to process what she was asking. Then I remembered the girl from earlier. I told her yes, that was me. She yelled at me saying I made her little girl cry. I apologized for upsetting her daughter and tried to explain that the dolls were out of stock and wouldn't arrive until later. She cut me off and said she didn't care about the time they arrived. She demanded I get her a doll right now or she'd make sure I got fired. I told her I would do everything to make sure more dolls arrived as soon as possible, but the store was closing in 5 minutes. She interrupted me again and said she wanted to look in the back because she didn't believe me. She was practically screaming now. I saw one of my co-workers look up from across the store, but he just went back to what he was doing. I thought I could handle this on my own. Big mistake. I took her to the warehouse where we kept promotional items. I knew I probably shouldn't let customers back there, but I didn't want things to escalate even more. I grabbed one of our inventory terminals, this little handheld device we use to check stock levels. It was expensive, like 1,400 euros or something. I showed her the screen that displayed 0 dolls currently in the store. Before I could show her the order we placed for new ones, she snatched the terminal right out of my hands and threw it on the concrete floor. It shattered. I immediately pressed the button on my earpiece and told my boss I needed him in the warehouse right now. The woman was glaring at me. She knew she couldn't hit me because I was still 17, and there were cameras everywhere. But the cameras were the only thing stopping her. She started kicking the carts we had lined up against the wall. Products flew everywhere. Then she grabbed 6 packs of wine and beer from a nearby pallet and threw them on the ground. Glass exploded. Wine and beer spread across the floor in a huge puddle mixed with broken glass. I just stood there frozen. This went on for maybe a minute, but it felt like forever. Finally, my boss showed up with 3 team leaders behind him. My boss didn't say anything. He just grabbed her and put her in some kind of hold that pinned her to the ground. She couldn't move at all. He told one of the team leaders to call the police now. One of the team leaders pulled out his phone. 20 minutes later, 2 police officers walked into the warehouse. The woman had been lying on the ground the whole time, and I was surprised she hadn't tried to fight my boss or anything. 2 of the team leaders took the officers to the office while the rest of us stayed in the warehouse. After about 10 minutes, they came back and one of the officers put handcuffs on her. We all headed to the office together. She stared at me the entire walk, whispering things. She called me a little piece of garbage and said I was going to regret this. She said she'd ruin my life. When we got to the officers let her speak first. Of course, she lied. She claimed that I had touched her daughter and put my hands on her when she asked about the dolls. She said that was why she came here, to protect her child. My heart dropped. The officers turned to me and asked if it was true. They wanted to know if I'd had any physical contact with her daughter. I could barely get the words out. I'd never been accused of anything like this before. I told them no, I never touched her. I asked them to check the cameras from 2.5 hours ago. They'd see everything. They pulled up the footage. There it was, clear as day. The girl walking up to me asking her question, me answering. I kept at least 6 feet away the whole time. Never even reached toward her. My boss complimented me on keeping my distance because of COVID protocols. I barely heard him. I was too busy trying not to cry. The officers had seen enough. They took the woman away. I heard later she was charged with vandalism, making false accusations, and disturbing the peace. My boss told me I handled that really well and said we should get the mess cleaned up. The team leaders helped, but I was shaking the whole time. My boss noticed and told me to go to the break room and take a break. He handed me a soda. I sat in the break room for 20 minutes, but I couldn't calm down. Eventually, my boss just sent me home. When I told my parents what happened, they were furious. They asked if I wanted to quit, but I said no. The job was fine. It was just this one crazy person. My boss and I talked the next day. We agreed that the whole promotional doll thing wasn't worth it anymore. This wasn't even the first time something like this had happened, just the worst. We stopped doing toy promotions after that. I've been driving the same beat-up Honda for 5 years, watching my business grow while that car slowly fell apart around me. The AC stopped working 2 summers ago. The passenger window got stuck halfway down last winter, but I kept it going because I was putting everything back into the company, building something real. Finally, things got stable enough that I could treat myself. I walked into that dealership and bought a Corvette Stingray, candy apple red, the kind of car I used to dream about when I was delivering pizzas to pay for community college. I'd had it for exactly 4 days when this whole mess happened. My girlfriend and I stopped at Walmart. We've been together 8 years, lived through the broke times, the scary times when I wasn't sure the business would make it. She was grabbing stuff for dinner. We were in the condiment aisle when she couldn't reach the ketchup on the top shelf. I grabbed it for her, handed it over. She kissed my cheek and headed off to get bread or something. I was standing there checking my phone when this woman walked up. She asked me where some product was. I looked up. She was staring at me like she'd asked 3 times already. I told her I thought it was in aisle 12, near the pharmacy. She wanted to know if I thought so or if I knew for sure. I said I was pretty sure it was over there. She huffed and walked off. I didn't think anything of it. People ask random people for directions in stores all the time. My girlfriend came back with a basket full of stuff. We headed to checkout, paid, loaded up our bags. I was thinking about what movie we might watch later. Just a normal day. We walked out to the parking lot. I parked the Corvette away from other cars because it was new and I was being paranoid about door dings. My girlfriend was already at the passenger side when I heard shouting behind me. It was that same woman from inside yelling, "Excuse me," over and over. I turned around and asked what she needed. She told me she needed me to help her load her groceries. I said I didn't work there. She insisted I did because I'd helped her inside. I explained that I just pointed her toward an aisle and that I was a customer. She said employees had to help customers to their cars and that it was store policy. I told her again that I really didn't work here. I turned back to my car. I heard her gasp. She shouted at me, asking how I dared to walk away from her. I unlocked the Corvette and opened the driver's door. My girlfriend was already inside, rolling her eyes at the whole situation. The woman was speed walking toward me, phone already up to her ear. She yelled for me to stop right there. I asked her what was going on. She said she was calling the police because I was stealing that car. I told her it was my car and that I'd just bought it. She said Walmart employees didn't make enough to afford cars like that and accused me of stealing it. She was actually calling. I could hear her talking to the dispatcher, giving them the location, describing me. This was insane. I told her I had my keys and could show her the registration right there. I pulled the registration from the glove box, but she wouldn't even look at it. She said the police were coming and that I was going to jail. Then she got in her minivan and pulled it right up behind my Corvette, blocking me in completely. My girlfriend was filming this on her phone by now. The woman sat in her van with her arms crossed, triumphant smile on her face, waiting for the cops to arrest me for stealing my own car. Two police officers showed up maybe 10 minutes later. The woman jumped out of her van immediately, pointing at me and telling them thank God they'd arrived. She said I'd stolen that Corvette and that she'd caught me because I worked at Walmart. The officers looked at me, looked at the car, looked back at her. One of them asked if the vehicle was mine. I said yes and that I'd bought it 4 days ago. I handed over my registration, insurance, and license. The officer looked through it while his partner talked to the woman. The second officer asked her why she thought I'd stolen the car. She explained that I worked at Walmart because I'd helped her inside, and Walmart employees couldn't afford Corvettes. The first officer ran my license and registration, came back nodding. He told everyone that everything checked out and that it was my car. She said no, insisted I'd stolen it, and demanded they check again. The second officer told her she needed to move her vehicle because she was blocking me in. She refused to move until they arrested me. The first officer explained again that it was my car and they'd verified it. He said she needed to move her van now. She called them liars, said they were all lying. Then she actually swung at the second officer, just hauled off and punched him in the shoulder. Both officers grabbed her immediately. She screamed at them to get off her, kept yelling that I'd stolen the car and they were letting a criminal go. They were trying to cuff her, and she was thrashing around, screaming, kicking, calling them liars, saying they were corrupt, demanding their badge numbers. It took both of them to get her secured. The first officer apologized to me and said I was free to go once they moved her van. They got her keys, moved her minivan, put her in the back of their patrol car. She was still screaming, face red, slamming her, cuffed hands against the window, completely unhinged. The second officer took our statements. My girlfriend sent him the video she'd recorded. They gave me a case number in case I needed it later. I drove home in my Corvette, my girlfriend next to me still in shock. She said that was absolutely insane. I agreed. She said the woman really thought I'd stolen it. I said it was apparently because Walmart employees can't have nice things. We never found out what happened to her after that. But I think about it sometimes when I'm driving that car. How she was so certain, so absolutely convinced that someone like me couldn't possibly own something like this. Like there was no universe where a guy helping someone in a store could also be successful enough to buy himself something nice. The Corvette still makes me smile though, every single time. My birthday falls in early December, just a few weeks before Christmas. It's always been a weird time because people either combine the gifts or forget about my birthday entirely. This year I decided to be specific about what I wanted to avoid any confusion. Back in July, my daughter bought herself this gorgeous Kate Spade shoulder bag. It was one of those bigger ones that could fit a laptop, water bottle, basically everything. She saved up for months and was so proud when she finally got it. I remember thinking how nice it looked, and when she asked me what I wanted for my birthday, I told her I'd love a Kate Spade purse too. Now, I should mention that I've always worn small crossbody bags. Always. Every single purse I own can fit across my body and barely holds more than my phone, wallet, and keys. I figured my daughter would know this since she's lived with me for 17 years, but I didn't spell it out when I told her what I wanted. My birthday came around in early December. When I opened her gift, I saw the Kate Spade box and got excited. But when I pulled out the purse, my heart sank a little. It was beautiful, don't get me wrong. Red leather, really well made, clearly expensive. But it was huge, like a tote bag. The kind of thing you'd carry to work if you needed to haul around files in a lunchbox. Not something I could wear crossbody at all. I looked at her face, all lit up and waiting for my reaction, and I couldn't tell her I didn't like it. So I smiled really big and told her it was perfect and gave her a hug. She seemed happy, so that was that. She told me it cost her $230 and that she'd been saving since August. That made me feel even worse about not liking it. For the next few weeks, the purse sat in my closet. Every time I got ready to go somewhere, I'd look at it and think about using it, but it just wasn't my style. I tried it once when I went grocery shopping, but it felt awkward on my shoulder and kept sliding down. I came home and put it right back in the closet. I felt guilty because I could tell she'd spent a lot of money on it, but I also knew I'd never use it. That seemed like more of a waste than doing something else with it. I decided to try returning it. Maybe I could exchange it for a smaller, crossbody version without her knowing. I drove to the Kate Spade store with the receipt she'd left in the box. The woman at the counter looked at the receipt and shook her head. She told me the purse was purchased in early November and their return window was only 45 days. I asked if she could make an exception, but she said she really couldn't because of store policy. The receipt showed my daughter bought it on November 3rd, and it was now late December, way past the deadline. I walked back to my car feeling frustrated. I'd waited too long, and now I was stuck with this expensive purse I'd never use. But then I had an idea. My daughter would actually get use out of it. She carries big bags all the time for school and work. It would be perfect for her. And honestly, if I never wore it, she'd figure out I didn't like it anyway. At least this way, someone would enjoy it. So I wrapped it up and put it under the Christmas tree. I even bought a nice gold bow to make it look special. This morning we were opening presents. My daughter had already opened a few smaller gifts from us. Some clothes, a new phone case, things like that. Then she got to the red wrapped box and tore off the paper. She opened it, pulled out the purse, and just stared at it. I could see her brain working, trying to process what she was seeing. Then she asked if this was the present she'd gotten for me. I froze. I didn't know what to say. I admitted that I thought she might like it more than I would. Her face crumpled, and she started crying right there in the living room. She said that was what she thought I wanted, that I'd told her to get me a Kate Spade purse. She had saved up for months to buy it and worked extra shifts all through November. She said she picked up shifts at the coffee shop on weekends and stayed late on weekdays just to afford it. I told her I knew that, but it was just too big for me. I said she'd get more use out of it. She said that wasn't the point. She said I could have just told her I didn't like it. Now she felt like an idiot for spending all that money on something I didn't even want to keep for a month. She asked why I didn't say something when I opened it, why I pretended to love it if I was just going to throw it back at her. I tried to calm her down. I told her she was making a really big deal out of nothing, and that it was a nice gesture. I said she should be happy to get it. She asked me if I knew what it felt like to have my own present re-gifted back to me for Christmas. She said she spent $230 on me and got her own gift back. Then she got up and went to her room. I could hear her crying through the door. My husband gave me this look like I'd just kicked a puppy. He asked if I really didn't think that would hurt her feelings. I said I thought she'd be happy to have it. He told me she worked really hard to get me something I said I wanted, and I could have at least been honest with her. He said she talked about that purse for weeks before my birthday, how excited she was to give it to me, how she thought I'd love it because it was the same brand as hers. She stayed in her room most of the day. When she finally came out for dinner around 6:30 p.m., she barely looked at me. She picked at her food and didn't say much. At one point, she said something about how she could have bought herself something she actually wanted if she'd known I was just going to give it back. She said she'd been looking at a new laptop bag that was on sale for $120. She could have gotten that and still had money left over. That hit me harder than I expected. She'd sacrificed to get me something special, and I'd treated it like it didn't matter. I kept thinking about how excited she looked when I opened it on my birthday, how proud she was that she'd saved up enough to buy it, how she watched me so carefully to see if I liked it. I tried talking to her before bed around 10 p.m. I apologized and said I should have told her it wasn't the right size. She agreed that I should have. I told her I'd get her something else, something she actually wanted. Maybe that laptop bag she mentioned or something even nicer. She said it wasn't about getting another present. It was about me not caring enough to just be honest with her. She said if I'd just told her in December that it wasn't what I needed, she could have returned it herself and gotten me something different. But now the return window was closed and she was stuck with a purse that would always remind her of this. She went back to her room, and I'm sitting here feeling like the worst mother in the world. I meant well, but I can see now how badly I messed this up. The purse is still sitting on the coffee table where she left it, and I don't think either of us wants to touch it. My husband suggested I try to make it right somehow, but I don't even know where to start. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.